Welcome to the Dental Business Guide podcast. From money to marketing to management, this podcast will help you run a better dental business.
Tonight, in this very hot, sticky night, I'm going to be talking with Nathan about accounts. Okay, the joys of accounts and how to save tax the right way using automation and using technology to help you. So, I'm going to just make sure to see who's online. Firstly, make sure everything's working. Let's see. Okay, so Nathan, you are there. I'm going to allow you to talk, Nathan. Hi, Nathan. Can you hear me?
Oh, actually.
Can you? I can hear you now. Go for it again.
Yeah. Hello. I'm here.
Brilliant.
Good evening.
Brilliant. Nice. Thank you. I'll promote you to a panelist. Hopefully that will work. So the technology is all very clever. We can do lots of things here. So let's see. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen. The wonders of technology. It doesn't always work, does it? So, okay, right. Right, can you see that? Can you see that, Nathan?
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, so without further ado, let's crack on. I appreciate it's probably not the best timing to be doing a talk on accounts on a Wednesday night, and it's boiling hot and sticky down here in Surrey. And I know where you are in Berkshire, Nathan, it's hot as well, isn't it? So,
I've got the fan blasting on me.
Right, so let's go crack on. So, dental practice owners, how to save tax the right way. Let's crack on. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Aaron, and I'm the CEO of Samera Business Advisors. Been running this 17, 18 years, started from scratch, and now we deal with hundreds of dentists doing a variety of things, including being accountants, tax advice, commercial finance raising, and just very recently we've just started up a buying group. So more of that will be revealed over the coming weeks to people listening to us, so you can save money working with us. At the same time, I'm also the co-owner of the Neemtree Dental Group, a small group down here in Surrey in London. I'm a trained chartered accountant, and I did used to work in banking for all my sins. Okay, Nathan, who are you?
Good question. Yeah, I've been with Samera since early 2019. My background is basically accounts. I've been in it for over 20 odd years, if not more. I came to Samera from a practice background, but now I wanted to find a sort of like a niche industry, and that's where I found Samera, and it's been very good since, really.
Fantastic. And Nathan is kind of a very experienced accountant, but also at the same time a good laugh. So he's famous for his socks in our team. So he's always got a different pair of socks on, which makes us all laugh. So, so yeah, if you need any help about choosing your socks or trying to know where to get them, or at the same time a bit of tax advice, Nathan's your man.
Yeah, I hope I add a little bit more in terms of accounts and socks, but feel free to ask about the socks.
We have to keep it clean here, Nathan. So. Right, so without further ado, let's see if we can get these slides moving. Okay. So, yeah, the hardest thing in the world to understand is income tax. That's what good old Albert Einstein said. In truth, it's not that difficult once you know what you're doing. So tonight, I'm going to touch on a few areas at the beginning. I have put in here a short break, but I appreciate it's going to be a hot night. So we're going to try and condense this all to 45 minutes to an hour. So we probably won't have the break. What we'll be doing is talking about why dentists are an easy target for HMRC. I'll do a quick overview of the budget, and then really talk about the key aspects of being a practice owner and understanding the taxes. But really the key bit here tonight is to show you all the online software and how it all works and why you should be using it really. And Nathan's our kind of resident expert to share all that. So feel free to kind of do a question in the Q&A section or chats thing if you've got a question. But we will try and keep this Wednesday evening as quickly and as interesting as possible for you. So why dentists an easy target? So historically, I've been working with dentists for 20 years, and dare I say it, a lot of dentists are very busy clinically and doing well, and they're very organised in their affairs there. But when it comes to the administration side of things, it's something they're perhaps not that interested in, or they've never really been taught it, what to do, how to do it properly. So in addition, over the years, dentists have typically been high earners, and many dentists historically, especially in the last about 10, 12 years ago, they entered various tax schemes. And a lot of these tax schemes have to be said to be honest with you, are questionable. So HMRC would investigate those types of things. So a combination of historic poor tax planning by dentists, poor administration by dentists is always a nice target for HMRC. Do you agree, Nathan? Anything to add on that?
No, wholeheartedly. Yeah. I think obviously, as you say, they're aware of the high earnings. So the thought process is that actually, if they do find any errors, that it's going to be more rewarding from a dentist compared to other industries.
Actually, Nathan, do you want to turn on your camera? You can you do that or not?
I don't think it allowed me.
Oh, didn't it? Oh. Try now. Let me see.
You cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
Oh, hello. Have I stopped it? Okay.
I'm not looking my best, but I think I'm okay.
Let me see what I can do. Bear with me a second, everybody. I think what I'll do, when it comes to you talking, I'll make you the host, then you can do the camera then. That'll be easier, I think. Not too short, otherwise we'll do. Okay. So cracking back on. Gone too fast. Okay. So most dentists start as a foundation dentist, they come an associate, and then quite a few become practice owners. And what I've seen over the last few years is more and more dentists have entered the profession in the first place, entered with a view to actually owning their own practice. Because they always thought, okay, owning your own practice is a good thing. You can run your own business, whether it's a one-man practice or a 10-man practice or a 10-site practice, but you can end up owning your own business. So that's quite a common theme I've seen in the last few years. But what I've also seen is many have it naturally, and many are entrepreneurial naturally, but others aren't so strong and never really get educated about money, taxes, finance, and the like. And a lot of them have to just find their path and find their way. And sometimes they're a bit lucky and things work out, but other times, unfortunately, we've seen dentists get into a little bit of a mess with HMRC, with creditors, with various parties, with banks. So it's so important to really have your financial affairs in order, specifically or particularly when you're owning your own practice as well. So where do they go wrong? Quite often, as I said, they're high earners, but also they're high spenders. They spend on things perhaps not necessarily going to get a great return for them. And therefore, it's important to be prudent and, dare I say it with my grey hair, ignore the idea of keeping up with the Joneses. Definitely don't try and keep up with the Joneses. Just try and manage your financial affairs that are right for you, not watching what other people are doing, and especially in this world of Instagram and the like. So quickly, I will go through a couple of these slides. I won't talk too much about this, but budget overview. A few months back, the budget was announced by Rishi Sunak. We saw the economy shrunk, but in a nutshell, what they're expecting to see now is some type of massive bounce back. Now, things have literally opened up as of yesterday because of Freedom Day. Time will tell. But what we're seeing across, because I'm lucky to have my nose to the ground, as they say, in two camps. One as a accountant or advisor to many dentists, and we're seeing lots of clients doing very, very well and growing very, very well as a result of the pandemic, post-pandemic, and strong, particularly in the private sector. And I think that will continue. And also, we're also seeing the demand and interest from people wanting to buy their own practice, start their own practice, growing strongly as well. So I think there's a bounce back, and I think a lot of also associates had enough. Particularly, may have been working for someone who hasn't really worked out well, so they want to move on and start their own business. So the economic factors, whilst have been terrible for the last 12 months, I think things are on the up. However, the tax man will want their money. They've had to splurge out billions upon billions to keep the country going, and then the only way they can really get this back is through tax rises or chasing up tax or VAT, income tax, corporation tax, all of those things, and which we're aware of. Furlough was extended back in June, and it's now going to go all the way up until the end of September. I won't dwell on that at the moment. For those who are self-employed, there's a fifth grant now, which people are getting notified now actually, and if you qualify, you can then apply and get a grant. Hopefully you managed to claim all your other 4 grants if they were relevant to you. Interestingly, for the grant now, what they're trying to do is ascertain your performance this year to see if you're eligible, because previously they never really asked for that information. Now they want to see or understand how much money have you made previously in this year, and should you really qualify for the grant at all. So that's already a sign of what the government's doing in terms of trying to curb their expenditure, curb their giving.
I'll just jump. Sorry, Aaron. If you go,
Sure.
I was just going to jump in the SEIS. Obviously, most people are aware that income was taxable, or is taxable.
Yeah.
So that needs to be reported, obviously, in the tax return for 2021, and also obviously for the 4th and 5th grants, 21 to 22. I do know that obviously HMRC are certainly focusing on those tax returns whereby they're expecting the income to be reported.
Yeah, very, very good point, Nathan. If you don't report it, they'll be straight after you because they'll know that you haven't reported it, even though they've given you the money. So the onus is on you to actually report that and put that in there, or tell your accountant to get that done. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Nathan. One of the other big things that came out of the budget, and this is really relevant to limited companies only, is from April 21 to March 2023, companies investing in plant and machinery will be able to claim 130% deduction on qualifying plant and machineries. So that's a huge incentive. That's one of the big things that Rishi Sunak tried to do, is actually get people to go and spend on stuff. So that means if you're a dental practice owner and you want to kit out your surgeries, now's a great time to do it. If you're going to buy equipment, and you'll get that 130% deduction on your kit, which will ultimately reduce your tax bill. In addition, you'll get 50% on qualifying special assets such as air conditioning, lighting, and other qualifying assets, costs of premises fit outs. And in a nutshell, the super deduction can give up to an additional corporation tax relief of 25 pence in the pound on such investment. So key point here to highlight, if you're a company, it's very tax advantageous to start kitting out and do these things now. Okay. I would be advising most people who are going to start a practice or are going to do it, probably do it in a company now because of this deduction that's available. It will end on the 31st of March of 2023. So this window is an opportune time now. Okay. Stamp duty, land tax. I won't dwell on that now. It's all kind of changed. But there has been a freezing of the tax rates and allowances going forward, which will be for 4 years, from 21 to 2022. And really, why is it even more important now to get your finances in order? Well, some dentists are doing better than ever, as I mentioned earlier, whilst many others are struggling. So it's a real mixed bag out there. And the irony of the situation is I speak to many, many dentists, private dentists in particular, doing very well. NHS dentists have been still getting their funding, but the terms may change, who knows? And ultimately, the government, as I said, are broke. So I saw a news flash the other day that HMRC are hiring new people to basically recover debt. So really, it's essential you do your things right and get organised. I cannot stress this word. And the whole premise of tonight's webinar is about being organised with your financial affairs. And technology can really, really help you do that. So, do you want to go through this, Nathan? Do you want to quickly talk about how the tax year works?
Yeah, I'm sure the majority on this call are fully aware, but it's always worth a little reminder. So tax year runs from 6th of April to 5th of April. These are exclusively relate to income tax. The ones that obviously are trading for a limited company, you do have to report the company profit through a corporation tax return. So any drawings from the limited company get reported in your personal tax return. And obviously that personal tax return is due 31st of January following the tax year end. So you get 10 months to file. And also, most importantly, not only the return has to be filed, the actual payment is due as well.
Okay. So what is income tax? I will literally zoom through this very quickly. Income tax is the tax you pay on your income. So income minus your personal tax allowance, which equals your taxable income. Self-employment is your income is your profit, i.e. income minus all those allowable expenses that you have in your practice. So for instance, if you're running a sole trader business, you've got income from your, say, dentistry, and then you might have staff costs, you might have rent, materials, lab. Those are all those costs which ultimately come down to your self-employment income or your profit, which is then taxed. And these are the rates they're taxed at. And as you can see, the rates are varied. So it's at 0% for the first 12,500. Then that next band up to 50, just over 50 is at 20%, and over 50 to 150 is at 40%, and over 150 is at 45%. And a really important aspect is you lose your personal allowance on any taxable income over 125. That is income tax. Now, that is applicable if you're a sole trader business or you're a partnership. In addition, everyone will have to pay national insurance, and ultimately for a self-employed person, there are two classes, class 2 and class 4. Class 2 is effectively £3.5 a week, and class 4 is, based on these numbers here, 9% on profits between 9.5 and 50, and 2% on profits over 50. Now, I know I'm throwing all these numbers at you, and I know it's like, oh my God, this is like dry as hell. But I'm just trying to paint the picture so you understand these are the taxes that you pay. Because quite often a lot of people aren't aware of what taxes they're having to pay. So you pay income tax, you pay national insurance. And then if you trade as a company, you will also pay corporation tax. Nathan, do you want to take this slide?
Corporation tax, arguably, is far more straightforward. So limited company reports on its income. Once again, as Aaron says, minus any tax deductible expenses, as per if you were self-employed, gives the taxable profit. And corporation tax, nice and straightforward, is at one rate, currently 19%. I've recently announced in the budget that's going up in the next couple of years. And the profits have to be reported on your company tax return. And the tax is due 9 months and a day after your accounting period. So if your accounting period is the 31st of March, your tax is due the 1st of Jan following year. Just touching upon the increase from 19%, they're going to introduce a small rate and an upper rate. Or actually, really, it's the main rate. So the main rate is going from 19% to 25%. Seems quite a hike, but it's going to be tapered. So if your profits remain under 50, the corporation tax is still going to remain at 19%. But if your profits any profits in excess of 250, they will be taxed at 25%. Any profits between 50 and 250, as I say, will be paying a tapered between the 19 and 25%. So it's going to be becoming a little bit more complicated. And the other thing, and actually there's no tax allowance for limited company as you receive a tax allowance as an individual, but your first pound of profit is taxed.
Yeah, indeed. And I think the question that we get invariably, should I be trading as a company or as a sole trader, is something that's never actually a straightforward answer. If you look at the two things we've highlighted already, as a company, you can claim the 130% tax deduction and the super deduction that I mentioned earlier. You can't get that as a sole trader. However, the sting in the tail now, Rishi Sunak raising corporation tax from 2023 to 25%. So you can't have your cake and eat it, unfortunately. They're broke. They need the money. This is where tax planning and thinking will have to be done further for each and every client. But I think a really an important aspect is to be aware of all these changes that are coming about us. I won't. Actually, this will come onto this a little bit later. Okay, we're going to come onto this. So I'm not going to talk about these actually. So counting software is something that we really think is the way forward. Okay, and HMRC are totally on board and work with all the main players out there. I think the best way really to do this is to do a demo. I'm not sure. Should we do the demo now, Nathan? Actually, we could do it now.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly make sure I cover all these points, though.
Arguably, the demo is the most exciting bit.
Yeah, that's the most interesting bit because it'll show everything that rather than me just reading some points off a slide. Okay. An important aspect is making tax digital, though. Okay. And what this is, the government is basically going to enforce everybody to be using software like we're going to show you to do their reporting. Now, at the moment, every year we do our tax returns once a year. It's quite likely that this might turn into quarterly or a monthly basis, where they'll collect taxes throughout the year rather than an annual basis. There's no clarity on that exactly yet, though, is there, Nathan? Am I right in saying that or not?
It's still evolving, but it's definitely coming in. But nothing's been announced in terms of how regular the reporting is going to be. But I think they're aware now, and I suppose we can understand it. That obviously more and more people are becoming self-employed, and obviously if you're employed, you're paying your taxes every month. So the thinking is, well, actually, if you're self-employed, you should be doing so as well.
Correct. So this is what's going to this is what's going to happen, I think. So making tax digital is the initiative, and therefore the onus is on accountancy firms and software companies to work together to provide a solution to people. So we won't cover these things. So right, software. Right, Nathan, I'm going to transfer to you. Let me see if I can get this working. Well, I've made you host.
Okay.
Now you should be able to do it now. Actually, I think about it. Oh yeah.
All right.
Got you.
He appears.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So I need to share my screen now.
You try and share your screen. Let's see. Yeah, and let me just do one thing on mine. Hold on.
Should be now viewing. Actually, sorry, the hub doc.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gents. So I'm going to fairly quickly show you the software that Samera use for all their clients, and it involves two bits of software: HubDoc, which is an online storage and reader software. Very clever bit of software. So this is mainly for your purchases. And it allows all purchase invoices and receipts to be uploaded, stored securely forever, so there's no need to keep a hard copy. And the software actually reads the info on the invoice and the receipt, which I can show you now, actually. So I've got a few dummy invoices. And there's a variety of ways of sending it to HubDoc. I'll show you a couple. So nice and straightforward method is to upload from files saved on your PC, so scanned, or they were emailed and you saved to your files. So I'm just going to send across a few supplier invoices. Actually, so that one, you can see that HubDoc is already, you've got different status of the invoice. So it's read it all. So it's populated, so it's recognized the supplier, Cavity Dental Staff Agency, picked up the invoice number, invoice date, due date, and the amount. And it's done that, as I say, within seconds. I'll send another one. Sometimes the time varies how long it actually reads the invoice, but as long as everything's clear, and as long as the PDF, it should work. So that one's been read again, different supplier, populated, pretty damn quick. So we've got these two invoices in. Actually, I'll show you the other method. Which the other method is that there's a unique email address associated to the HubDoc account, which is here. And so if you have suppliers emailing you invoices, a lot of our clients now are actually getting the supplier to copy the HubDoc address in, and therefore you don't even need to have to upload the document. Or you can just forward any emails with invoices on from your email account to this email address. Just got my email open. I'll copy it. As I say, you could easily just forward your supplier emails to this HubDoc address and then send it. And then you should see those invoices coming through. You hear it? Oh, yeah, there. Yeah. You should now see how quickly HubDoc reads them, which is pretty quick. So these two have come through via email, and HubDoc has read them both. Fine. And then once all the documentation, once you regularly upload them, this is where we come in. We then...
Can I interrupt, Nathan? Sorry, just to kind of summarize. So what HubDoc is doing is, this is a really important part of the process where a client every month is receiving invoices for various suppliers. And as Nathan pointed out, you can get them in different ways. You can get them to send it via email. You can upload it. You can take a photo with your phone, different ways, as long as this information is getting into your specific HubDoc account. And the key is to get that information in. Okay. So therefore then everything will be accounted for. If you miss out invoices, or if you miss out receipts, or if you miss out anything, that straight away is going to have an impact on your accounts, which ultimately will impact your profitability, which will probably raise it, which will ultimately raise your tax. Okay. So if you're getting organized, it's so important to be organized to capture all the data and all the bills and all of everything. Correct? Yeah, Nathan?
Wholeheartedly. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of clients obviously think, oh, actually, this is going to be a laborious task, but they soon learn that the actual, for a short-term pain of getting things up to date, there's definitely long-term win because everything is there on HubDoc. The link with Xero, which I'll shortly show you, just works really well. And it just ensures you've got everything stored online. And because everything is there, your finances are just totally up to date. And hopefully it won't happen, but in the event of an HMRC investigation, HMRC would expect, particularly practice owners, to have online software, and they would pick any big purchase invoice, and they would expect you to produce the invoice, and the software will allow you to do that. And also, we would more than likely act on your behalf, and we would obviously just instantly locate the software, locate the payment with Xero, and revenue would be fine with it.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So sorry I interrupted you. So carry on.
Yeah. So the final stage in HubDoc is to tell the software. So for this software of excellence invoice, because it's the first time that HubDoc has received an invoice from this supplier, it needs to be categorized. So this is where we go in. This bit here. So this is the Xero bit, and HubDoc will remember this. You will only need to configure this once. So we've got an option to either publish it to Xero awaiting approval or awaiting payment. Majority of our clients are doing awaiting payment. There's another topic which we might touch upon later, is actually you can actually pay invoices directly through Xero now, linking another bank, but I won't touch upon that a moment. So waiting payment, and then it's looking at the associated Xero accounts. Software of excellence should be in there, and it is. And then you just tell him that software of excellence should be categorized to computer software and consumables cost. And as I say, there'll be no need to enter that for any future software of excellence invoices that are published, that are uploaded to HubDoc. So, and then we publish to Xero. I'll quickly do this to one of the others here.
And this only has to be done to one supplier once. So every month, if you're sending suppliers through, this would happen automatically. So
yeah, and actually, I'll show you. I'll upload the same invoice again. So I've just put in that software of excellence.
You've done it again.
And there you go. So the Xero bit is already populated. Oh, and also it's worth noting that HubDoc will flag if they believe that the same document has been uploaded. So it's actually flagging that there's two documents, same amount, same date, same supplier. We believe that could be a duplicate, which is very good. Oh, and also quickly, HubDoc actually creates folders and automatically stores all the documentation in, which once again is a very good facility. So it keeps everything tidy, so you don't have to do that. So we've now sent two purchase invoices to Xero. I'll now welcome you into the world of Xero. Now Xero, this is where all the financial information is located. This is obviously the main information. This is where obviously that we tend to spend a lot of our time, and also practice owners specifically. We always advise to go into Xero because this is where you are going to find all your year-to-date financial information. HubDoc really is purely a storage and reader software, so Xero is the main financial information place to go. So if we search So if we locate now those two invoices, so this is the dashboard. This is the welcome screen. Obviously, we just got a dummy client in here. I'll go through all this later on. So we've got down here, there's 4 bills awaiting payment. 2 of those should be the 2 that I published from HubDoc. No, here we go. So software of excellence. So it's brought it all through. It also brings in the actual copy of the invoice as well. So it's not only in HubDoc, it's in Xero. So that all looks fine. So go back to the dashboard. And the key ingredient that's with Xero is that your business bank account can link with the software. So there's a live feed between the bank account and Xero, which is a great facility. So all transactions are uploaded throughout the day. So therefore, there is no need now for your accountant to request a year's lot of bank statements. It's all there for you. And that's where now, historically, the accountancy has been a retrospective exercise, but now it's not. Because of the software, we can produce your June accounts literally 5 days after month end. As long as you're using HubDoc and your bank account is linked in Xero and you're using the bank account exclusively for business, then there's no excuse for delayed management accounts. So what we do here, so the bank account currently, this is saying that there's 151 transactions that have come through from the bank account that has not been reconciled with either an invoice on Xero or an element of the 151 are going to be sales as well. But if we focus on these 2 invoices that I published, so this is going to list all these outstanding items, and you will see that, scroll down, the 3rd line down here, that Xero has picked up a payment to Software of Excellence of 237.86. It's then also, it's found an unpaid bill from Software of Excellence to that amount. So it's suggesting that that's a match. It still doesn't automatically link it, but it basically allows the human to come along saying, yeah, that's a match. And therefore, that bank line and the purchase invoice is now reconciled on Xero, and it's stored safely. So if we scroll further on down, obviously all these will be reconciled once the invoice has been published from HubDoc to Xero. And there we go. And then it's recognised the cavity one as well. So the invoice date was the 13th of April. It was actually paid on the 28th. And there you go. So that is how the software links. And our role is to ensure that the bank account is reconciled on a very regular basis. These are the lines that, and actually I'm just going to quickly show you in terms of income that you can quickly put any card sales, rather than clicking on each line, you can just assign the income there. highlight all those, and then rather than then selecting each individual line, that's now cleared all those cells. And we're reduced to 111 items now. So that is the link between HubDoc and Xero. Now, in terms of the information available on Xero, it's got a wide variety of reports. For practice owners, obviously a key report is your profit and loss, which will show year to date. It will also have the prior year for comparison purposes. So this is your current year ending 31st of March 22. The previous year obviously is ended. So you've got your sales, your cost of sales, your associate fees, your materials, your lab fees, etc., to give your gross profit. So you can obviously then measure that this year the gross profit is coming out quite a bit better than the previous year. And then you've got your overheads, standard overheads. And that will give you then your operating profit. So far this year, for this dummy client, it's a lot healthier. And then also we've got in here there's a tax provision. Just to give you a reasonably good guide, actually, of your potential tax bill as it stands. So we're saying that a profit before tax of 187,703 will equate to a corporation tax bill of 32,813. And that's another huge benefit of having the software, that you've got an idea of your tax bill during the year. So year ending March 22, that tax is due in December 22. So you've got a good idea sort of over a year before it's due. Quite often in the years go by, we presented tax bills with the tax due a couple of days before deadline. And that obviously is due to the client not being organised. So there's a huge amount of benefits with the online software. Quite often we run a profit and loss month by month, just to keep tabs that if there's any anomalies. So this is a month by month for the year so far. And also we've got June 21, but we kept in June, actually, so for comparison purposes. So we just have a quickly scan through, see, is the profit relatively consistent? And obviously these 2 months here are indicating a loss. And because now if you click into these categories, it will also, if you click in there, it will show you what the total material cost is made up of. So that has all the individual invoices in there. So you've got all the information at your fingertips. And that's Xero.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nathan. So now I appreciate it's a hot, sticky evening, and looking at numbers on a screen probably isn't the highest priority of interest, but I appreciate you're still here. But Nathan tried to simplify it in such a simple manner where information comes through HubDoc. This is then processed into Xero. And then these figures here that you see here now in Xero then go on to form your annual accounts and statutory tax liabilities, tax bills. Okay. And that's the process, is that from that moment, that one invoice you get from a supplier all the way to the accounts that are prepared at the end of the day and your tax bill, is that what we're trying to show is the process. Okay. It's not rocket science, but what it is though is being organized and using the technology to assist and help you, because then this will help you then, as Nathan showed, managing the accounts. You can see how your business is doing on a month-by-month basis. You can make good decisions based on that. You can change your fees. You can cut your costs. You can do a variety of things. Okay. And what you've done is efficiently automated much of your finance function. It still needs people to look at it. It still needs you to look at it. It still needs accountants to look at it. But technology has helped us. And as accountants, we can then add value and say, well, you think you should be doing this, or you should be cutting your costs here, or we send another client do it this way, etc., etc. Okay. Anything else you want to share, Nathan, on this Xero kind of process?
Yeah, there's a wide variety of reports, but ultimately, anyone is keen to obviously to make sure that there is profit. But another key report is the balance sheet, which notoriously is a little bit more complicated. And obviously, any practice owner needs to have a positive balance sheet. Otherwise, the conclusion is you're insolvent. Therefore, things are not looking good, to say the least. So this is a balance sheet as of today. So you've got your assets, you've got your equipment at the top there. So total assets of 321,000. So that's either, obviously, that's instantly available cash in the bank, money is owed to you, the value of your assets, and then conversely, you've got your creditors, i.e. money's owed, and you've got a very healthy position that your assets minus your creditors, you've got a very, very good position whereby there's a significant amount of available funds, which is a good place to be.
Brilliant. Okay, so right, Nathan, what I'm going to do is take over the sharing, if that's okay.
You need me to do that?
Just a second. I don't know. Really. Actually, maybe you need to give me rights. I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, you got to make me the host. Yeah, make me the host. Okay. If you just click on my name to make host of it under more.
Okay. Where is your name? Oh yeah, got it.
Okay, thank you.
We're there.
Okay, I've got a question that's come through. Is there any extra benefit to getting HubDoc if you have a software of excellence and care manager with them? Is there some crossover between the dashboards for both in terms of what they provide? Okay, so I'm not sure what care manager is, I'll be honest with you. Okay, but the important thing about HubDoc, that comes totally free with Xero. Okay, it's part of the Xero ecosystem, and that's the thing that's going to help you scan all the data into the whole into Xero for the accountancy purposes. Now, there may be something called Care Manager, which I'm not aware of, and there may be some overlap in terms of the dashboards, but HubDoc is an essential part of this whole process. Okay, and there are other companies out there, people like Receipt Bank, you might have heard of, which is another company, but we use HubDoc because we know it's a Xero-owned product, and we know it works very well for us. In that respect. So hopefully that's kind of helped you with your answers there. So let me share my screen again. Trying to keep this punchy and short. So we've gone through so HubDoc was the software that we've talked about, and you can do it anyway. We've done the accountancy software, we've done the demo. Nathan's briefly talked about the accounts and side of things, so we won't go into that in depth today. But everything falls out. The bottom line, everything falls out. If you do it right, everything falls into place very simply, into your profit and loss and balance sheet. So as they say, if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. Okay. But if you put quality information in an organized manner, your accounts will come out accurate, and your accounts will come out clean, and you'll be making sure that you claim for every allowable tax expense for your tax liability. Okay.
One thing I didn't mention, Aaron, is if there is actually a need for finance in terms of if you're looking to purchase equipment or renovate the practice, finance providers now are certainly expecting year-to-date accounts, and they wouldn't. Obviously, they prefer to past, but they're far more interested in present. So therefore, this is where Xero is vital. Whereby, as I said, if dummy dental care needed finance now, we could produce year-to-date accounts to the end of June, and I'm pretty damn confident they get the money.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really important aspect, because COVID has changed how banks look at accounts as well. They're not looking at the last year, because they know the last year has been rubbish. They're looking at what's happened currently, okay, and what's going to be projected for the future. And therefore, they want to see up-to-date management accounts for borrowing purposes. Talking to Nigel and Dan, who are our finance broking guys, they say we need up-to-date figures all the time. Otherwise, no one's going to lend you money. Okay. One thing we didn't touch on, but we can just briefly touch on it now, Nathan, is there's something called Wise. You might have heard of a company called Wise, which is a kind of an online bank or money transfer system, and Xero has partnered up with them to make the payment side of bills very, very easy. So historically, you'd have to pay each bill individually from your bank account. But the way with Wise works now is that in Xero, you tick all the bills that you want to do. Let's say there's 10 bills you want to pay. You effectively just make one payment to Wise, and then Wise sorts it out for you. Okay, for those 10 bills, it all links up. It's all done securely. It's not. We're not going to show you now, but again, it makes it more efficient. It makes it quicker, and we've got an increasing number of clients who are switching over to doing this to save time. That's the bottom line. You're busy running practices. You're busy running your business. The most valuable thing you have is time. Okay, it's not the money, it's the time. And if technology can enable you to save time, hugely, hugely valuable. And then all of this then falls into all the accounts you do, all the information then feeds into your tax return, and the tax computation and tax. Again, I'm not going to go into this, but I know it's late on a Wednesday evening. Okay, but into a tax overview, and then ultimately you have to pay your tax by, as Nathan mentioned earlier, by the 31st of Jan and the 31st of July if you're a sole trader or self-employed. If you're a limited company and your March year end, it's usually the 1st of January. But it's essential to keep things up to date, so you pay your tax on time, and you also pay the right amount, and you don't incur any penalties either. And we do have clients in the past who pay late, and then a penalty is incurred and interest is incurred. That's the nature of, I guess, sometimes things aren't being organized particularly well. But the whole Hub.Xero ecosystem is there to really tighten up your system and run a tighter ship, as they say. I won't go on to these. Any last points from you, Nathan, that you want to add really on this whole Xero ecosystem?
Yeah, it's, as I say, I definitely would. Well, practice owners, you definitely need, well, you should be using some form of software, because otherwise you're just not really going to know for a fact if you're making profit. Obviously, your bank balance is a good indicator, but ultimately, if you're not paying all your bills, then eventually the bank balance is going to disappear. So you do need to know. And also, obviously, if you're looking to grow, if you're not measuring how fast you're growing, or then it's going to be virtually impossible. The finances are so important. And also, I didn't really touch upon, you can set budgets in Xero. So you can focus on, obviously, cost savings, which is very good. The software is really good now. And the accountant, really, the role of the accountant is not controlling the software. The role of the accountant is actually analysing the figures and actually providing guidance. Obviously, we still have to file the statutory accounts, but that's not where the value is. The value is analysts and providing guidance, and also, most importantly, sort of flagging if there's something really drastically looking odd.
Yeah, totally agree.
And also, obviously, the software we can access the software wherever we are in the world, and so can the client.
Totally right. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that you're in one place, we're in another place, but we can look at the same information at the same time. And that's where we can add advice. And I think this is the whole point of this webinar, is to show you that it's about being organized and efficient, and following that's the way you're going to try and minimize your tax bill. It's not going into questionable tax schemes, which I've mentioned on this slide here. I've seen clients do it time and time again, not listen to us, but go into these tax schemes and regret it. But it's short. They think they'll save tax and save money, but in the long term, it usually comes back to bite them. So if I was going to spend any money and effort and time in your business, I'd say get your accounts function or accounts management finance function run slickly using HubDoc, using Xero in that instance. Okay. Separately, nothing to do with what we talked about here. There's just some other tax things that you need to consider. Okay, if you haven't already, is make sure you're making your donations or payments for a pension, because that's tax deductible and you can do up to 40k per annum. For savers or investors, you've got ISAs, you can do 20k per year, or if you've got children, a 9k per year. You can carry forward losses from previous years. So if you do a startup practice, those losses can be carried forward from prior years to going forward. You can invest in enterprise initiative schemes, EIS schemes, which are potentially where you can save some tax, but there is always a risk of losing your money in such schemes. You can also try and use your CGT or capital gains tax allowance, which is currently just over 12,000. Charitable donations, you can get tax relief, low emission electric cars. Another way of saving tax, okay, having an electric car, because the benefit in kind rates are so low. So there are other tax things out there which you should be aware of, and if you're not, just ask us. We're here to help and advise. But as an accountant doing this for the last 20 years, I cannot stress how the most important thing is just get your function right, get yourself organized, be organized, and technology is there now that really makes it no excuse not to be organized, okay? To help you. Previously, when I started out, we didn't have any of this type of software. It was kind of Excel spreadsheets and just a bit of a mess. Now the technology has evolved so far that it's a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. In addition, payroll is something that increasingly complex in the marketplace now. Just look at the last 12 months with furlough and all these types of things that have happened. Again, this is essential to be well organized. Xero do their own payroll, but we use something called BrightPay, which we think is by far the best. That links in with the Xero. It's very efficient. So if you need payroll help, or if you want to run a payroll, my colleague Karin Ashwarya, they'll be able to manage your payroll for you. But it's getting more complex payroll, and you need someone on your side to know what they're doing in this respect. And going forward, and this comes something that Nathan mentioned a moment ago, it's important to get your finance and taxes in order. Ultimately, if you want to get another practice, you want to borrow more money to buy a practice, you want to buy a property, you want to buy a house, you want to do up your practice further, it's essential to have your finances in order. And if you can show, and I think we're at the point soon where banks will want to see access to your Xero account. With making tax digital, what's going to happen in the next year or two? Someone like Lloyd's or Barclays, whatever. So actually, I'd like to see the accounts from Xero, and all you need to do is ask us to give a login detail to them, and they can do a view of it. That's where we're heading to. So if you want to borrow money, and I think a little bit further down the line, what will happen is banks will actually link into your Xero account, and they'll analyze that information using AI, and then make a decision on whether they're going to lend to you or not. Okay, so we're not that far off it. The technology's there; it's just not in the current marketplace being used like that yet. So having good financial discipline is absolutely essential for this. Okay. So in conclusion, we've done it in an hour, Nathan. It's pretty good. Okay, 8 o'clock. Okay. We have cut some bits out, which I just think would put you all to sleep, and hopefully we haven't put you to sleep yet. But in conclusion, be organised using a digital system as we've shown. Keep all your records under using Scan, and just be organised. Any points that you want to dwell on or kind of reinforce here, Nathan?
No, I think you've covered the majority. It's the software. The software really should ease a lot of your headaches. And we're here to assist, but the software really is should be really exclusively for your business, not to help us to prepare your accounts. It is basically for you. And I'm always very, very confident that a client is using the software to its full potential. Their tax bill is definitely going to be a lot lower than one that isn't. Yeah. That's a guarantee. And also it just allows decisions to be made as well in a timely fashion. Rather than previously, you used to review a set of accounts with the client saying, "Oh, actually, by the way, you've made a loss. How's this year going?" And it might be too late then.
Totally right. Okay, great, fantastic. So, just as an aside, if you don't know, we do look after hundreds of dentist accountants from all shapes and sizes, practice owners, groups, individuals, sole traders, associates, hygienists even. So you name it, we do it if we're in dentistry. Across the UK, from Scotland, Northern Ireland, all the way down to the South Coast, and even kind of, I think, even on Jersey, I think, actually now. So all shapes and sizes. We can assess with all tax planning as well, not just on this stuff that we talked about today, but on income tax, CGT, inheritance tax. So if you need any help there. So if you are in the market for a new accountant, Nathan, myself, here to help. You can drop us an email on these email addresses, or you can go to our website, samera.co.uk, and just book a call with us. We'd be delighted to help. It's Wednesday evening. I'm down here in Surrey. It's too hot. I need some water. Nathan, I think you need some water and maybe a beer as well.
Yeah, I was going to change the water for something else, I think.
Yeah, okay. Beer, actually, I'm tempted to do that. But again, if you need any questions or have any questions or need any help, we'll be delighted to help. We are dealing with our numbers of clients seem to be growing exponentially, especially with this type of thing that we're talking about. Mainly because of our expertise. I'd like to say, I'm not trying to shout out that we're so amazing. We're not, but we've embraced it really well as a firm, and clients are now benefiting from that. And I think we're quite well ahead of the curve compared to most accountants out there in this respect. So, you know where we are. Have a good evening, everybody. And I will leave it with this slide here. As this is a bit of a cheesy American phrase, but you must pay taxes. There's no law that said you've got to leave a tip, okay? And that's what we're saying here. Just be organised. Thanks very much. Thanks, Nathan.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Have a nice evening. And we're here to help if you need anything.
Thanks for listening in to the Dental Business Guide podcast. We welcome your feedback, and if you're enjoying it, please let your friends know too. Until the next time on the Dental Business Guide podcast.